Hello, everyone. Welcome to the National Parents Union. I'm Dr. Anjali Laferry, and it's Friday, July 24th. I have to look down to realize what day it is because this time is flying by so quickly. And when you do this weekly show, you really feel a sense of oh my gosh, I can't believe it's a week since we've been with all of you. That's what we were saying kind of behind the scenes before we went live. But welcome, everyone. So I'm in Arizona, and it's actually gloomy right now, which is so amazing. We're in the desert. We're in this beautiful Sonoran desert on O'odham land, and so it's really cloudy. And so if it rains in the middle of this broadcast, I'm probably gonna jump for joy. One cool, weird thing about the desert, for those of you who aren't here, is that we actually get rain, but because it's so hot, sometimes it evaporates before it even hits the ground. So we don't get to experience rain touching down very often. So definitely water is its own blessing, and especially when it touches down here in the desert. Okay, so y'all are already getting to know me. I'm being me right now. But this show is the brainchild of Marisol Quevedo. So this is, all right, the nightly restorative check-in. And when I think of Fridays, my ideal Friday is kind of to be hanging out with people that I care with and just care for, and just relaxing with them. And it's also that time to just check in, right? To kind of see how things are going, how the week is gone. I always love that feeling of knowing that you maybe hopefully don't have anything to do the next day. And even if Thursday's your Friday, Tuesday's your Friday, we all get it. It's that day where you know you're going to get to sleep in and relax a little bit. Marisol brought me on to kind of within their beginnings of her show. I was one of her first guests, and I introduced a breath pattern called 478. And so that comes from my background as a psychologist, as a hypnotherapist, and also a professor. So I want to maintain the integrity of the way that she runs the show, along with kind of the things that I do. So we're going to continue with that 478 breath. Since I think many of you are accustomed to that. The way that that breath runs is you breathe in, you inhale for 4 seconds, you hold your breath for 7 seconds, and then you release your breath for 8 seconds. That, if it's your first time, it might feel a little, unique or different to hold your breath that way. But you'll quickly get it, and we'll complete that cycle 4 times through. So even if it feels a little challenging, you'll have a couple opportunities or a couple rounds to pick up on the pattern. One thing before, I kind of get into counting us down is I know that I am super fatigued right now this week, and that many people at NPU have shared that as well, just through our, kind of posts and things like that on social media, or just our internal conversations. We're tired. We're tired. So I'm going to access kind of the hypnosis part of who I am and suggest that when you inhale, that you imagine that you're breathing in, right, a sense of balance, restorative energy, right, just any positive traits or things that you want. And that when you exhale, you imagine that you're sending out stress, fatigue, worry, just anything that doesn't serve you, okay? 2 more little points. I always suggest that people close their eyes or pick a focal point. See, I'm tired. I'm tired, y'all. Anyway, pick a focal point, and maybe kind of low to the ground. The reason for that is just visually, right? If something goes across our visual field, we'll get distracted. And this is a really light kind of state of relaxation. I also recommend that you kind of, uncross your body, get in a comfortable posture, all that good stuff. All right. So let's try it. So go ahead and kind of get in the position that you're comfortable in. If you're comfortable, close your eyes or pick a focal point. And just practice, right, by taking in some deep breaths before we even count, right? Breathing in the things that you want, the positive properties like peace and balance, right? Sending out any stress or tension, fatigue, anything that doesn't serve you. And on your next inhale, we'll start to inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come back to your natural breath. Interestingly, you guys, I sometimes I can kind of feel the impact of the breath. This one was better than last week. And part of it even has to do with like if I'm distracted and things like that. So yeah, I hope that you're feeling a little bit more settled, and I really recommend that you practice that breath pattern as often as you can. Okay, nice. One thing that's actually I'm checking in with myself, what you hopefully feel after that is actually the ability to take a fuller breath. And that was a little bit of what I felt there for a second. All right, okay, so back to just quickly introducing myself so we can get to our guest. Again, I'm Anjali Laferee, right? I live here in Arizona. I'm originally from Southern California. You'll have heard me talk about my parents. My father, my late father's from Cuba, so we're Taino and Arawak. My mom is from Guatemala, so it's Maya territory. You all have met my brother and sister, amazing people that they are. And I've shared that I'm a mom. I'm a mom to a beautiful 20-year-old girl, and I'm also a widow. So all of these affiliations are important to me, but also my personal and my professional identity are really rooted actually in community here in this desert. And I'm a member of the Siwapatli Collective. And so Siwapatli means women's medicine. And you're actually going to meet the executive director of the Siwapatli Collective here in a moment. But we focus on, right, indigenous women, some would say indigenous issues related to mothering and postpartum. And we just support women and their families from womb to tomb. So with that, I'm going to introduce you to Maria del Carmen Paracano. She wears many hats. Today, I've invited her, like I said, to talk about the collective and the special things that we do and who we are. Hi, Carmen. She's coming in. I'm going to finish your introduction. You got to unmute yourself. But she and her husband, hi, own 3 businesses. Again, part of those many hats. She's a chef. She's a mommypreneur. She's a woman of ceremony. She's a mom of 4 kids. So hey, Carmen.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. How are you?
Exhausted, but like everybody else. I feel like during this time we're busier than we were before, but
oh, we're getting some feedback.
It's all here.
Sorry, Carmen, I'm going to interrupt you because you're a little frozen. We're getting some feedback. I wonder if yeah, actually now you're perfect. Okay, so you're exhausted and then there was some blanks. So let's just start with you're exhausted.
Yeah, I'm exhausted. But like I was saying, like everybody else during these times, we seem to be pretty busy, but all in good ways. Just
Yeah, yeah.
pacing ourselves, right? We need to pace ourselves.
You're saying that to both of us, and so I think
Yeah.
sadly you and I like feed one another, right? I am a member of the collective, but I'm also the CFO and Carmen's the executive director. So you can imagine we have a lot of communication and contact, even up until like before we came on the show, right? We were
Yeah.
all communicating, related to the nonprofit. I know that you have a lot going on, so tell us, yeah, just introduce more of who you are to us. Tell us how your day has gone.
Sure. Well, like Anjali said, my name is Maria del Carmen Parracano. Some know me as Maria, others know me as Carmen, depending on which phase in my life you met me. Again, many hats, many life experiences. I am the daughter of Jose Arturo Parra and Maria Cristina Parra Martinez. My mother was from Texcoco, Mexico, and my father's family is Raramuri from Cuauhtemoc, Chihuahua. And I'm the first generation of my family born and raised here in Phoenix, in O'odham territory, in this urban indigenous city. I am the mother to 4 children. My husband is Brian Cano. And through that, I've also been part of different ceremonial circles, different communities. I've had many years experience and learnings from the elders and community of the Calpoli Nahuacalco here in Phoenix, as well as different circles ranging up to Wheatfields, Arizona, down here to the south, all the way back to Teotihuacan and Tenochtitlan. So all just very sacred, special ceremonial places that are dear to my heart, and I'm really thankful for those relations, for those elders, for those circles, and all the teachings that have now sprouted into healing for myself, my family, and our community.
Yeah.
I'm also I was like, oh yeah, I'm a chef.
Tell me what I do. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. I'm also a chef of Sana Sana Foods, and I also collaborate with the Healthy Roots Cafe in South Phoenix and the Orchard Community Learning Center. I'm also the board member of the Sagrado Galleria in South Phoenix as well. Just all aimed at educating our community, just to healthier living, healthier lifestyles, and just acknowledging the arts, whether it be through food, whether it be through music, singing, self-expression, really. So really thankful for that opportunity. And yeah, you touched on entrepreneurship. So I think we'll get into that more into our discussion, but yeah, I've been a stay-at-home mom pretty much since my first daughter was born in 2013. Prior to that, I worked in the nonprofit world for over 10 years. And in between there, I went to culinary school and all my educational experience. So,
Got an MBA.
huh?
You got an MBA somewhere in
I
there.
got an MBA while I was done when I was about 8 months pregnant. So it was interesting, but many experiences along the way that have now led us to where I am now. So
Nice. Yes. So to summarize, she's a badass. Like, I mean, and I have no idea how she does everything that she does. So yeah, you'll learn that kind of as we move along. Tell me about today. And I guess, like obviously we're close to one another. I know there's a lot of stuff going on, and thank you so much for coming on the show, but I also want this to be like good for you. So I want you to be able to unload a little bit, because I know you're carrying a lot. So yeah, what are y'all dealing with right now?
So let me think. Today's actually would have been my mother's birthday. So I know I also have family trying to do what we can to honor her today, in times the best we can. Using face
It's actually free
time a
going in
lot.
and out. I'm sorry to
But
interrupt you, Carmen.
we right now
Carmen, you're actually going in and
trying to
out.
balance everything, keeping our businesses afloat during this time. wanting to focus our early March, I was really busy with a lot of catering nonstop every week, multiple events throughout the week, and it's just pretty much me and
All right, so Carmen, yeah, you're actually going in and out. There you go.
better.
So yes, better. Yeah, I know, and it's okay. Like it's, dude, it's raining in
What?
the desert.
It's raining. It's raining here, so that's probably that's a sign for me.
One is like things for sure, yeah, and complications, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's start that over. So your today is your mom would have been your late mom's birthday. So just start from there.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, it would have been her birthday. And so my mom passed away now 5 years ago. And so it still seems fresh to us, very, especially due to her unexpected passing. But just trying to celebrate and honor her the best we can during these times, and not and really interacting with our family. And I'm one of six daughters. I have eight. There's eight of us total children. So, and we're all here in Phoenix. We're the only people of our family in the States. Everybody else is in Mexico. So we're all spread out. So, just trying to stay in contact with one another, especially today, taking a little extra time to say hi. But during this shift with the pandemic, I was catering multiple events throughout the day, speaking engagements, doing things like that. And I was telling my husband, it's really, I see this as a blessing, being able to, it kind of stopped us in our tracks and to say, like, no, you need to be with your kids, and a very fortunate time for us now, as we learned, with our middle daughter, Kisani, who just turned 5 in May, who is going through a different process in her life with her health, and will be having surgery on Tuesday to remove a series of lymph nodes, which in her neck, which we learned today. We thought initially it was 2, the largest one being the size of a golf ball, which is fairly large. But we learned today that there are actually 8 different ones that go within her throughout her neck. So we're just processing that today, learning that her procedure may be a little bit more invasive. And so we're just taking our time with her, really just trying to explain things to her, because they're really smart. So my kids understand a lot. So we just try to just keep them in the loop of things and not hide things from them, and keep them very much in the conversation about what's going on, especially about their health. Yeah. So just processing very emotional day. Really did test today. And so
Well, and we're losing you actually one more time. So I think it's just you're just gonna need to kind of, kind of come in and out or do what you need to do. But it gives me actually the break just to like honor your experience, to like honor your mom. And, I know that that's like, these days are really challenging, right? Bittersweet, so like a lot of complexity of emotion. Here you're coming back in, right? And then I want to honor, like your road with Sunny, Kisani. I think that's been a big part of like our conversation today, right? As a collective, about how she's doing, right? And also a lot of us trying to support you, and make sure that you hold so much for us, making sure that you're okay, like mentally and spiritually and emotionally, because it's just scary. I mean, and then now we have the additional knowledge of that it's on a really tough day.
Yeah, so it's been a process. And she also had her second, I don't know if this if you caught this or cut out before I mentioned it, but she had her second COVID testing today, because she needs to be tested before every procedure. So that was more emotional for her. So then of course I'm emotional because the whole process. So it's just been that kind of day. And I know everybody's dealing with some type of emotion that way.
Absolutely. Everyone is struggling. You know, I've been on the phone with different friends and family and people today, and like, just, yeah, people are struggling. Like, it's really hard. We're in like, I almost think about it like the ocean, you know, we're way out, and like we're trying to swim back in, and those waves are getting us, and we still have so much further to go. And it's just like I don't even know if I can deal with this, like all of these waves, you know. At least that's how I experience it. So just always, I mean, always sending you lots of strength and love, and reminding you, you know, and like como tu comadre, like reminding you to ask us for help, you know.
Yeah,
So,
and that's what I'm so grateful to, for the collective um having being able to support people that way, you know, and especially that's our birth story. You know, and that's how we started. So
yeah. Well, let's segue into that. So, like, you know, again, all people know is that there's this thing called the collective. I keep talking about it, and I hope that they can feel a lot of love. But tell your story, like the way I know you can, right? Tell our story, you know.
yes, so the collective grew very organically. So I had just had my second, actually Kisani. I had actually had her. It was my first time leaving her after her birth. And my mom had just passed away. So actually, Kisani, I feel, carries a lot of that emotion as well, after the passing of my mother. So um, she was the first time we left her. We decided to go to San Diego for a weekend, my husband and I, and it hit me like my postpartum mama blues, you know, hit me there, and it was like I didn't know what I was doing, you know, like I feel like I just needed support and I didn't know what to do, and I put out a call to people, almost every female I woman, mother I had contact with via Facebook. And so I put this out there kind of saying like I need support from people who have done this, have gone through this process, have birthed, have mothered, you know. And so I put it out there, and we planned on just having a meeting up for coffee. So we met for the very first time and at a local coffee shop here, and there's about maybe 10 of us that were present. And every time after that, it just grew. It grew to and the conversations were just open to where it's just sharing a conversation. You know, many of us were stay-at-home mothers at the time, new generation of mothers that came out and just needed to be with other mothers, feel a community of mothers, you know. So the next time we met was maybe a week or two later, and then it grew to 20 people were there with the babies, you know. And then after that, it just kept growing. And so a lot of it became like, you know, people bringing in other people, their friends, who feel they could sit and have a chat of coffee, you know, have some coffee time and comadre time, you know, really. So um it was really beautiful in that sense too, where each time it just grew and it just got interesting. Initially there was no the conversations were just very organic and fluid. There wasn't an agenda, you know, things like that. So then later on the discussions grew to be to as many of us have come from different ceremonial backgrounds. We felt we needed some support, additional support, like there was a different yearning that we had, and it was about wanting to learn more about our traditional ways. And so the very first event we had was our ancestral womb wellness gathering. Um and that just birthed from us wanting to learn more about ourselves. How can we heal our bodies using traditional knowledge, using um the recipes my mom left us, you know, or using our rebosos, or using different herbs, that whether it be a tea or for any type of other, you know, a tincture or something like that. So it grew to that very first ancestral womb wellness gathering. I was actually then also our very first womb wellness gathering, I was 6 weeks postpartum after my third birth, which was a loss, and we lost our son Ayakoyani. And so it was very special in the sense to where for me it was also helping even support me at that time postpartum, you know, learning how to deal with grief and loss and processing that and the loss of a child, you know. So it's just one thing. I feel like it's been always one thing after another, but it's been very healing and very beautiful to be able to see this growth of not only as a community of women supporting each other, but even just for me in my role as a mother, how things have evolved. As my role as a parent, you know, even parenting with my husband is the way we communicate and the way we want to raise our children and how we interact as a couple with that, you know. So just the importance of communicating, and also just how you mentioned earlier, just like acknowledging if we need support, acknowledging if we need help, and just acknowledging that we're human and we make mistakes and we need support, and we need to feel the support too, you know. And so so yeah, that's how it's pretty much been. Each birth has been really special. And the collective also served as my birthing team for 2 of the 4 births I had. And so each time, like I mentioned, something very different. Each birth is its own experience. Each pregnancy is its own experience. And then it's just been a learning experience since then. For everybody, I think for the comadres who have now been inspired to be birth workers, you know, and those that have been inspired to be, you know, death midwives also, and those who, you know, acknowledging that loss is part of our lives, but then also acknowledging the beauty in learning from that process and that healing. The healing is the overarching goal of our work is how can we strive to heal one another from whether it be generational traumas or just a really traumatic birth experience we had, you know, and what comes with that.
Yeah, and I'm just jumping in, like, and that's, I would say, like, we spent 2 years, right, doing all of the just comadrismo, right? And so just to define, right, when we say comadres, I mean, for those of you who are Spanish speakers, right, like, I feel like I grew up hearing comadre from like my tias, and it was like your homegirl, you know, but it's your homegirl, but it's like your homegirl that you love like family. So it's your play cousin, kind of like that level of closeness, you know. Um, but yeah, there's a deep sisterhood, right, in that, in when we use that term. And so yeah, for 2 years, yeah, we focused a lot on ourselves. We focused on like healing ourselves, like kind of putting all of our ancestral knowledge, right, all of our cultural knowledge, right, into practice, because our elders really kind of pushed us to do that. And I always remember, like, I feel like our first gathering like was like our biggest gathering. I remember because I was at the front door and I was just processing people, and I was like, where's everyone coming from, you know?
There's no room for them. It's okay.
Well, that one, I feel like that was our biggest space, you know. I mean, so yes, it was packed, but so now I feel like we've gotten into smaller spaces and more people. Anyway, it's all beautiful, right? You know. But yeah, so now we're like 4 years deep, and going into 5, because we're as old as Kisani, right? You know,
Yeah.
that's always our marker. We're as old as Kisani, and so when is our anniversary?
It's October. It's in October. It's Indigenous Peoples Day, actually, without knowing. It's Indigenous Peoples Day, October 11th or 12th.
All these synchronicities, you know what I mean? Like your mom's birthday today, right? Kisani's kind of challenges, you know, even just this rain and this gloominess, you know, and just this release that's gonna happen here, right, in a moment, and hopefully for you at some point, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk to us, how then, okay, so then what happened after the 2 years? Because now we're a nonprofit, and we're still, and our integrity is the same, right? The main components of ours are the same, but yeah, we're más chingonas. You
Yeah.
know?
Yes. So after a few years, it was just like, well, so what else do we want to do? You know, and really just stemming from what do we need? You know, what do we as mothers, Indigenous mothers, need? And so um, we evolved to where now we are also a 501c3 nonprofit, and we've had that status since 2017, the end of December 2017. And so now with the main goal being to help more mothers, more indigenous, urban indigenous mothers, and helping more relatives here in the city be able to heal and discover or reclaim, re-indigenize, and decolonize their own families and their bodies. So it's been really beautiful to see the evolution of our ancestral room wellness gatherings. The last one we had was this last February, and uh, it was amazing just to see how many people in the community connect with us, and not only just us, but are looking and wanting to connect further with other indigenous women, and beautiful to see all these different birth workers, especially the parteras or midwives that have been working in this area for so long, feel like they now could come out of the shadows to actually be to be seen again, so it's really 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 beautiful, I think, to see the evolution of that, and then also just to see how many more indigenous women uh, across Turtle Island are looking to be that type of comadrona, or that birth worker, the partera, serve as a comadrita or a doula for somebody else in their community, and just be supported in that way. And so it's really really beautiful to see that, and how, especially during this time, the need is even more evident for those birthing at home and just looking for that type of support, especially when people are homebound, and what, even postpartum, just in the healing process there, learning about how to use a rebozo, learning what foods are good for the body, um, and just overall womb health. Our womb health, especially with our esteemed womb worker that we have here, our comadre Tracy, is special to us because she helps all of us, so in different ways, and has a connection with our little ones who she worked with in utero, so it's really beautiful to see. And just even in different códices, or that we see the comadrona being, or the midwife, I should say, is being the, traditionally, that they're the ones that help name the child, after birth. They're the ones that present the child to the sun for the very first time. And so, now how that's evolved is it could be a birth support, somebody from the birth support team, your midwife, your doula, or also your womb worker, and so for me, my I hold a really special place for our womb worker Tracy, who was the first one to touch my womb, during those times for those little ones. So just acknowledging touch, during that time, is a really intimate thing, but also very special, really healing. Oh, there goes my lights want to go out here. So
Your laptop's charged, right? Or you're on
yeah,
a cell phone?
it's plugged in too. So oh man.
See, hold on. You know what? Like las abuelas, like our grandmothers are speaking, and actually, so we have comments coming in here, and so my mom's actually commenting. So, Mom, I'm gonna acknowledge your comment, but she can be a little heavy-handed with her comments. So I'm gonna say, Mom, don't comment 18 times after this, please. Okay. But she's actually reminding me that the 23rd of July is actually my grandmother's birthday, and so, and like, so let's explain, like, because water in itself is a blessing, and I'm looking outside, I'm looking at like this rain that wants to fall, and like this gloominess and things like that, and all these trees that are just moving. We associate water, just with kind of femininity, women's ways, right? We think about how much water is held, right? During the time, right, when we're in labor, water that's released, kind of everything that relates to water we associate, right, with womanhood, womanness. So yeah, and then also I want us to be able to define for people what we are talking about when we say womb care, because I mean, you and I get it, but it can, for somebody who doesn't know, like, your minds can go somewhere else. So let's talk about that. Like, what do we mean with womb care?
Yes. So when I mean about our womb worker and womb care, so there's different types of, well, Tracy specifically is a licensed massage therapist, but she's also taught in traditional massage, womb massage. And so that comes to in some cases realigning the womb or realigning the body, because we've learned that in this process that the womb, the way she sits or in the body also affects other systems in your body. It could have, you know, the just like when you're expecting, if you've ever been pregnant, for those who might be pregnant, like the weight of the baby could affect your back, different nerves, you know, so it's your womb in the way your womb is balanced. And so what we try to do is help teach people how to balance that, um, whether it be through massage, gentle massaging, or just using a rebozo to wrap yourself. You know, it's just listening and being in tune with your body to know, especially around the moon time or your menstruation time. And then also learning how to, in absence of a womb, you know, how to take care of your body.
Yes, truly from womb to tomb, right? Which is what we talk about. And I think I enjoy too that I feel like, you know, we're branching into trying to incorporate our elders, right, as well in their experiences, maybe as they're entering, right, kind of menopause or just other phases of their life, right? And I think it's not just the physical aspect, like you said, it's the spiritual aspect, it's the relational aspect, right? Like how your position shifts and changes, right, in your community. And I think there are many beautiful things to our collective, but the fact that we have so many age ranges represented and so many people in different stations of their life, and the core of us, right, we're a big group where there are 13 founders, and then we have kind of an advisory circle of, what are we at now, 4 folks, 3 folks? We're transitioning.
Yeah.
We're not confused. Like, we know how many people there are. What it is we have people kind of transferring into founders versus elder roles, things like that. So it's something that's, right, always evolving.
Right. And it's really beautiful too now to see, like, especially for some women who I knew prior to having children, like I had children in my early 30s, and that was, I guess, late for some people, but that's what happens. And so others who had children much younger, now their children are now, you know, early 20s. And, you know, so it was really beautiful to see just being able to support them during that time. And then also now seeing how now those coming of age need the support as well, you know, and how we could be a support to those, and being parents to teenagers, which I'm trying to figure out toddlers and a 7-year-old, like me, my oldest is 7, you know, and so those.
Little teenager and a 7-year-old.
Yes, he is actually. And so it's trying to manage and navigate, you know, being a parent from the little ones to the adolescents, and making sure we don't forget about them in their hardest times, to the early adults who also need just as much support as the adolescents, right? And then into adults.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So it's just learning really is, how can we support one another from womb to tomb? So from birth all the way down to when it's time to transition, you know, and doing it the way we want to do it, you know, at our pace, at the pace of our families, and in a way that what we believe in, you know, not really in re-indigenizing or decolonizing, you know, reclaiming a lot of the traditional teachings that have been lost. But fortunate enough that we still have a few elders we could ask and just talk to and collect those stories, and really taking the time to listen to and learn from. So even right now during these times, I mean, I guess that's where it's great we have technology to be able to still interact with folks at some capacity, and teaching people how to use it, and so they could, because a lot of it is just I feel like a lot of the emotional things we're feeling is that lack of interaction. And so that one-on-one interaction, even like that in-person interaction, being able to hug you know, is really hard for people. And so but just an acknowledgement, even just over the phone or over Zoom, you know, makes a big difference right now. And that's why I think it's really important too, of what you're doing and what Marisol started, and not just for all parents in general, but just check in, like, what are you doing right now? How are you handling things? Because as we know, like, it's really trying, especially when you have little ones or a newborn maybe. And that's why I just shared with a comadre of ours, is, you know, who has a newborn. It's like, oh, enjoy it. It's the easiest time.
Yeah.
It seems hard when you don't have sleep, but it's actually the easiest time because they're just eating, feeding,
The
and then
problems just get bigger, like
they
with them.
do. And then you have to deal with other social problems or other issues, or but that's why I was mentioning with the Bakisani was, I just feel it's really important for her to keep her. I don't want to hide what's going on with her because
Hmm.
she's also in tune with what's going on with her. She brought it up to me and said, "Mom, I have something back here,"
Mhm.
and so just keeping it clear and keeping it the communication open with her to know like this, that you're going to have a surgery and this is what's going to happen, and so she's aware, and she'll ask a lot of questions, and we just try to help fill in what we can, but just that communication again, like once people are acknowledging are in tune with their body, then it's kind of hard to avoid something like that. And that kind of goes back to the womb health, the feelings, the emotions, and what's been really beautiful to see too is those that have been trying to carry to get pregnant as well, that have been reaching out and learning from, trying to engage Tracy and other people here that where they need support too, and so I just want to acknowledge those who have also been struggling to become parents, and so um, just because I even received a message from somebody about that, just asking for a prayer, and that's strong, and that I
Mhm.
believe it goes a long way. But even just them reaching out, is really special to me to prove that, you know,
Yeah.
we have them in mind too.
Yeah, let me, there's so like we are so much, there's so much good stuff in there. And people are commenting also, right, as we're live. So Lynn Lane said hello, by the way. So hi
Oh,
Lynn. And she expressed, yeah, her well wishes for Sunny, and lots of other folks too. But somebody's actually asking where they can get a womb massage. So and for sure, I mean, so the person who we work with, she is in Tucson, and I feel like Tracy's probably sitting there like, oh, don't jump me out like that. So we'll ask her where else or who else, does this kind of work. But generally, right, it's within her tradition, right? It's within the knowledge, her ancestral knowledge, and then she developed it along with, right, her professional knowledge. So I think not all sobadoras would be like kind of maybe what some people are maybe a little bit more used to, but that's still not exactly a womb massage. And actually, I want to say too, when we think of a womb massage, it's not internal, right? It's external, right? So it's external to the body, all this resetting and these things that we're talking about. You've also said the word rebozo a lot, which is basically like a shawl, right? And so, but there are different lengths and different sizes, and those shawls, if you think about like belly binding or a cerada, which is a ceremony after the baby's born, to kind of a closing of the bones is maybe how we would translate that into English. At least in wording, there's so much more, like it's not really translatable, right? But just trying to catch people up and give them these nuggets of like the words and the things that we have said. You brought up, right, like that somebody called and asked us for prayer and all these social connections and the relationships to our elders. I think that one of the really special things about us as a collective is the support we provide one another. I know for sure that is not something that I would have totally understood walking into the collective, that I would have benefited from. And so, I don't know if you want to talk about some of the ways that we're like dealing with providing one another support in our comadrita circles.
Yeah, so um, a few years ago we decided, we need to keep reaching out, or um, keep having coffee, keep meeting up, so we started establishing our new moon our new moon brunches. And so this was an opportunity where anybody from the community would just get together, share a meal, and a healthy meal, share a healthy meal, but then also get to know one another, just sit, have a conversation, you know um, learn how can we support you, and so many times we had different discussions, whether it be specifically around food. So we had a few youth young women, you know, come and ask about, you know, just healthy foods. And then another time it could be somebody um, who's who was a new grandma, and maybe they needed support on how to support their family, you know, during that transition to we've provided different types of rebozo workshops, um, mommypreneur workshops. And so mommypreneur came up because along with Sani's birth and the passing of my mother and the birth of the collective, I also started a business called Indigena, which focuses on rebozos, or the shawls, but traditional shawl use for preconception and postpartum use, and baby wearing. And so that kind of, after being a stay-at-home mom, a new stay-at-home mom, I've always been one to, my parents were entrepreneurs too, self-employed. And so I kind of learned from my mom, like, just, I can't just sit there and not, you know, even though we know moms just don't sit there, you know, but when it comes to generating income, I felt like I needed to do something. And so that's the way I felt. And so I was able to make a connection, a relationship with weavers right outside of Mexico, right outside of Tenochtitlan, Mexico City. And so, which then are fair trade, 100% cotton. And it's really special, even the way they weave their rebozos is, the elders actually tie the fringe, and the elders are the ones that finish it up, and they do it at a certain time. And so it's really special that way too, with their thought, their intention, and how they're helping somebody heal, you know. And so it's really been beautiful to have that partnership with them. And then I import them, and then we've been able to just kind of spread that what I know, what another mama who goes by Chicana Mama, Perla Farias, Portugal, has also, we both started baby wearing education at the same time. And so we, with the local group here, but at the time it was kind of like, how come people don't know, like, how come we don't know our way, you know, like, how come, why are we learning from an institution that's pretty much was not for people of color,
reflective of us, yeah,
right? And so how come they don't look like me, you know? And so that's when we actually received an invitation to go to Guatemala to learn from there. But we were just kind of like, okay, let's figure out what we want to do first, you know. And so since then we've been able to learn how to honor our rebozo, how to use the rebozo, how to support our wombs and our bodies, you know, during special times, and then how to care for our children with it. You know, people can use it gathering, harvesting in the fields. You could use a rebozo, and then you could use, I always have one in my car. So whatever happens, I'm prepared. So yeah, like for whatever, when it comes to ceremony, I don't have a skirt on and I need a skirt, I just grab the rebozo. You know, if I need to, yesterday I went to the store and the baby fell asleep. So I was like, okay, let's do this, you know, like let's do something here. So very important tool. And so very fortunate to be able to share that with folks and birth workers here in the city. And then just supporting other mamas, other wombs, all the other healing paths. So that's been really pretty. But these trainings came about as to try to help maybe a new mother, a new stay-at-home mom, maybe a single mom, you know, who needs additional support. Just basic business practices, like how can you start an LLC? How can you start just a business license, you know? And so for the state of Arizona, and so that's what we've been doing. And then also sharing with others, how do you start a nonprofit? You know, how do you, because it's not an easy process. And if you're not familiar with navigating the sites, navigating the forms, navigating just the entire, what it takes to hire and set things up and pay yourself and things like that. So we've been able to help other people learn about that. And then hopefully all aiming towards financial literacy. We see a lot of indigenous women be victims of financial
yeah,
abuse.
like
yes. And so wanting
fiduciary abuse, is that what you're thinking of?
No, it was the financial abuse. That's the word I was looking for. Especially those birth workers who are trying to be midwives, trying to be, trying to better themselves, but fall into that place. And so I really want to, that was really my motivation to provide this training for people and say, this is, there's other there's other alternatives, and there's other things you could do, and then be a legit business owner.
Absolutely. And like, and it's so, even like as I hear, I'm like, oh, we do so many cool things, amazing things. And I'll bring myself in. One of the things is I'm trying to be really intentional about the guests that I bring in so that people can get to know me a little bit. And so I'll share my connection to my interest. Part of my interest for wanting to be a part of the collective is because you all have heard me say I'm a hypnotherapist. And so some of my research and my dissertation was about women who used hypnosis to birth, and then what after that process, what their bond was like with their child, right? So did they feel more competent? Did they feel closer? And in no ways, I wouldn't put hypnosis in the class of indigenous practices, but I would put the process of being connected to yourself and your body, right? This idea of connecting with something beyond yourself, right? Connecting with lineage, right? And that's the part that kind of empowers you and supports you to get through if you desire a natural childbirth and some of the physical pains with that process, right? Anyway, that's kind of my connection. And then you name dropped my newest role in here, that we try to also support one another with like licenses and certificates, and not because we need them, but because if they help us legitimize ourselves and then provide access to the group or to other families and women, then we're willing to get those licenses. So I've become a death midwife, which I feel like I'm like coming out right now, like when I'm saying this, because I haven't said this in like a real way. So I absolutely am going to have a show about that process. But if you think about the fact of a midwife bringing life in, there are a lot of similarities in process to life leaving or somebody transitioning. And part of that was because we support women. You're one of the first ones. We support women and families who have lost children as well. And that's something that loss is kind of very near and dear to my heart. And so when that opportunity came up, it just fit, and it was an interest of mine. We only have like 5 more minutes, and there's so I don't, where do you want to go? What other parts of our collective do you want to talk about, or anything else?
I think it's really great to there's definitely room for growth, but also doing it in a very, staying true to who we are, and I really feel like the past few months, it's just really been acknowledging those systems of oppression that have limited our people and our communities of color. And so I want to also acknowledge like we're the complete opposite. And so I also see like, with growth, sometimes people lose that. And so I really feel strongly in that, we're true to who we are, and I don't think that's going to ever change, but I also feel like the relationship building has been huge, and really just coming from that place of mutual respect and coming from that ceremonial place of being true to our altars, our families, and just acknowledging some people aren't as fortunate to have those connections. And so I just want to acknowledge that too, is even within our families, it's just asking the questions, having those conversations with our family of where did we come from, or where did our people come from, or where are our original homelands, like asking those types of things to then be able to acknowledge the space, acknowledge the place where we're at now, and then just see how that affects us in life. I was very fortunate my mother was always pushing, motivating me. I've been a community organizer for years, as part of Mecha and other organizations. And my mom was really, in high school, was like, go to the protest, go, no se dejen, she would say, don't let yourselves. And that's kind of what's fueled me this whole time, is we can't let ourselves, standing up to defend what we believe in our communities, and then also advocating, being vocal and visible advocates for our children and for our own bodies. And I think that's what's been really important. And for all those who, I also want to acknowledge those the missing and murdered women who don't have those advocates, and we're trying to be advocates for them as well from different communities, and down from the femicidios in Juarez all the way around Turtle Island. You know, this has been happening for centuries, and it hasn't been acknowledged. So for me, that's also very special to hold space for those who are not here right now, you know. So that's a whole other I just started a whole other topic.
No, but it's important, and I think that like our organization is beautiful, and we're also transitioning because yes, we've gone into hiring employees, fiscal sponsorship. We were a part of getting a doula bill passed and shifted in our state, and so in the process of that growth, we are very much like living the shifts and the transition of that we're all experiencing now. Today, these social shifts. And
Right.
we are even have to go back and examine ourselves and do some kind of anti-supremacy work, right? To make sure that we're not embodying the practices, the ways of being, right, that foster institutionalized racism or all of the isms. Because the other part too is like, yeah, we're all very different. Some of us are professionals, some of us are stay-at-home moms. But we all walk in a lot of worlds, right? So it'd be very easy for us to bring over practices that don't serve us. And as much as there's been some challenges, I respect our process. I respect that we're always kind of pushing one another like, hey, like, is that the way we want to do it? How should we be doing it? That we listen to our elders, that like we have elders in our meetings that like, nos dan consejos, they give us advice, right? They tell us things. That to me is one of the things that at multiple times has been so attractive and special and important for my individual growth.
Yes, and it really is. It's like we've come from so many different backgrounds, so many different even ceremonial circles, education backgrounds. You mean you have your stay-at-home mothers, you have photographers, you have artists, you have I think we have like 4 or 5 PhDs, in the mix, and so it's really, really unique, to the dynamics of the group. But yet, when it comes down to the fire, like we all know, we're all connected, and so it's really beautiful that way.
That is a beautiful way actually to end off. So that when it comes down to the fire, that we all know, and that in this time, like we say that we are tending our home fires, right? So we can't be in all the ceremonies that we tend to be in with one another and want to share, but we're all taking care of like that internal fireplace or our family fireplace, and that's a really important process to kind of get comfortable with. And regardless, right, we learn that. Yeah. I just thank you. I mean, like, just the level of like not only love that I have for you. And actually, I don't know if you can mute yourself because we're getting a little bit of feedback. But the level of love that I have for you, but more than anything, admiration. Like, I do not know how you do everything you do, and I've told you some of this before. The most there are so many impressive parts of you, but the fact of how you can hold a vision and like keep carrying all of us, like all 13 of us with you, and elders and community members, I can only imagine that like that's how your mom was, and more. So I just, I love you to beyond, and I hope that your heart gets the consolation that you need today, and that you feel like as supported by all of us as much support as you kind of give to us. Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. Here's my sage. Okay, stop playing medicine. Okay. Everyone else, thank you so much. Thank you for being just like a part of our relationship, our comadrismo, right? And we will be on next week. I'm going to have Jay Israel Green, somebody that I've known for, gosh, I don't know, 17, 18 years. We're getting up in the 20s. And he's a leadership coach, and we're going to actually be talking about vulnerability. See how we do. I know. So thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful weekend. I hope that you have lovely weather. We're going to enjoy the rain. Bye, everyone.